Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Saturday morning and our weekend wisdom as part of our celebrations for Menopause Awareness Month. Today, we are going to be looking at managing stress for a smoother menopause journey. Now, if you've not been on any of our calls before, let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm Jeanette Forder. My company is Phoenix Wellness Coaching. I am a life coach, specifically working with women throughout their menopausal journey. And with my 20 years experience in HR, I am also a workplace trainer, teaching organizations how to support their staff better as they go through menopause. So today, managing stress for a smoother menopause. And I don't know about you, but stress is something that we all live with. I certainly did. And when my menopause started, when I was age 47, when I realized I was going into perimenopause, it was anxiety that knocked me first, caused by what we thought then was excessive workplace stress. So stress is something that impacts our everyday lives. Let me just find my mouse and we'll go on to the next slide. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to have a very quick dip back into what menopause is, just an overview of the transitions and the kind of things you can think might come up. We'll take a look at what stress is because it is quite interesting to look at that and recognize what it actually is, what it means and how it manifests itself. Look at the common indicators, and this will be a list of some of the things that you might feel but not necessarily be exhaustive. We'll look at stress and menopause, how stress can actually make your menopause journey even more difficult. We will look at the impact of stress on your general health and well-being as you go through menopause. We'll also look at what you can do, the stress busters, what you can do to relieve the stress, simple things that you can do on a day-to-day basis that doesn't take medication, that will help you to better manage your stress and reduce the negative impacts. We'll have a little recap on the menopause lifesavers. If you were at the event last week, you'll know what those are, but we will go through those again because, again, they really sum up everything that we've been talking about during this month. And then I will take the recording off and we can look at any questions and answers that you've got. So feel free to pop things in the chat as we go along, and I look forward to talking to you about this important subject. So let's just take a quick look at menopause and the menopausal transition. So you will hear me talk about menopause as an umbrella term, taking into account the three key phases that we go through. Before we reach perimenopause, we are in premenopause or we're just in our fertile, productive, reproductive years. The first stage of menopause is perimenopause, and this is where your hormones, your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone really start to fluctuate, and you can start to find yourself experiencing some of the symptoms that are commonly seen at menopause. Your periods may be disrupted, you might start to feel hot flushes, headaches, you might see weight gain, anxiety, insomnia. Lots of different things might come up. Perimenopause literally means around about menopause. It means you're going into this stage, that your body is starting to go, okay, our reproductive years are coming to an end and we're lowering the hormonal levels. This usually starts around the average age, around about 45, and it can be very quick, or you may not even notice it, or it can last eight to 10 years. Mine was actually around about the 7-year mark, so quite a long time. Excuse me. Then the midpoint in your menopausal transition is actually menopause. This is a 24-hour date and moment in time. It usually happens around about average age 51 to 52 in the UK, but it can happen earlier and it can happen later. And in many cultures and countries around the world, it happens at a different time. But it signifies that moment in time when it has been 12 consecutive months since your last period, a last natural period. Because if you are on a contraceptive, like the mini pill, the Mirena coil, or the implant, you won't have periods because the progesterone will stop that. But it is a moment in time. And menopause means cessation of menstrual cycle. So that is the moment in time. 24 hours later, you go into postmenopause, which is what you become for the rest of your life. So that moment from perimenopause through to postmenopause we call the menopausal transition. So when I talk about menopause, I can be talking about any of those stages. Why does menopause happen? It happens because we have a finite number of viable eggs in our ovaries. When we're in the womb, when we're babies and growing as embryos, we have millions of them, and they gradually deplete until we get to our mid-40s, when the number is really, really small and our ovaries start to shut down. That then signifies a decline in our hormone production, particularly estrogen and progesterone, which are our key reproductive hormones. When does it happen? We've said in the UK, average age around 51. It can be later or earlier. And as I say, the same for different cultures or different ethnicities, it can vary. But it also does mean that your perimenopause will start around about the age of 45 to 50. But menopause can happen for many different reasons other than natural process reasons at different times in our lives. And as you can see, some women will experience menopause either early in their early 40s to 45 or prior to the age of 40. It's a very small number. That is a definitive medical condition called premature ovarian insufficiency. It does need medical intervention. It does need HRT and hormones because it can have massive impact. So, but it does impact a small number of the population. Also, you might find a surgically or a medical induced menopause. This can happen again at any time, depending on medications that you might be taking, that might suppress your hormones, particularly cancer treatments. Radiotherapy, chemotherapy can bring on an induced early menopause, or surgical reasons. For instance, if you have a hysterectomy and your ovaries are removed, you can go into menopause. So menopause, whilst it is a natural phase, a natural time in our lives, can happen for many different reasons outside of that natural window. What are the symptoms? Many of these you will know. There's 5 key areas that we look at. Vasomotor symptoms, that's your hot flushes. That's where your temperature, your body temperature, it struggles to regulate it. So hot flushes, night sweats, and excessive shivering. I know I felt really cold at times as well as really hot. Psychological symptoms, these are things like anxiety, depression, loss of confidence, brain fog, loss of concentration, word loss, all sorts of things that impact you psychologically. Also can include your mood swings. So from going from feeling really happy to sad to angry, all those emotional and psychological symptoms. Physical symptoms can start at the top of your head all the way down. Thinning hair, dry skin, itchy eyes, itchy ears, sense of feeling like insects are crawling on you, achy joints, difficulty sleeping, all sorts of physical digestion. Our body is full of estrogen receptors, and it can therefore mean that we can really struggle and suffer as our estrogen depletes. Genitourinary symptoms, these are really things like recurrent urinary tract infections that we might find, vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy. It can also include painful sex, itchiness, all those sorts of things in that area where all of the cells start to dry out and infections can move around, and we get that kind of friction. And the most obvious one, changes to your periods. I foolishly went into perimenopause and menopause thinking that my periods would just stop. That'd be an end to it. That very rarely happens. They become really unpredictable. They can become extremely heavy. They can become lighter, longer distances between them, or shorter distances. So the cycle can change quite a lot. So getting to know what your regular normal cycle is and what your periods look like in terms of flow, and duration is really, really important. And those will be your, if you like, your early warning signs that will let you know that you're going into this stage of life. So now I want to look at stress, and I wanted to start with a definition. And I think it's really important to start with a definition of stress because we hear it a lot. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. I'm stressed out. The stress is too much. It is very much a 21st century, 20th century condition that many of us struggle from, brought on by our minds and our bodies trying to cope and manage too much all at the same time. There isn't actually a medical definition of stress. Stress describes a collection of symptoms and indicators that bring out feelings in our bodies. If you like, it activates our fight or flight mode. So the formal definition of stress, and this is the one that the Health and Safety at Work and the Health and Safety Executive will use, is that stress is a natural human response to challenging or threatening situations that can cause feelings of mental or physical tension. And it can be caused by a variety of events, thoughts, or health concerns. And I really like the picture here because all those post-it notes on that lady's face can cause us to feel stress. Stress of looking after the kids, getting the kids to school, stress of being mum, worrying about the kids, holding on to a job, financial stresses, the bills. Have I got enough money to pay for it? What am I going to cook for dinner? Oh my God, I've got to present in that meeting. Oh, I've eaten the wrong things today. I've blown the diet. Oh my God, I need to find time to get to the gym. I've got to do the washing. I've got to look after elderly parents or family. So many different things can cause us to feel stressed. And it is simply a reaction in our brain to something that our brain feels could be threatening. So it very much is a survival mechanism, warning us something is threatening us. I like to think of stress as my it's not superpower, my health and safety guy, my protector child, just making me aware that something is challenging or it could be threatening. It's just our brain wanted to keep us safe. That's why we feel stress. But it's very much something that can be a force for good. So a good stress might be like athletes feel when they're on the start line. Yes, they've got those nerves, they've got that adrenaline pumping because they want to win the race. Bad stress is when it happens continuously, when the cortisol levels in our body are so high that actually we're almost addicted to it. We don't know what to do to calm it down. That's when it has real difficult impacts on our minds and our bodies. So recognizing when stress is good is important, and when maybe that stress bucket has gone a little too far. So what are some of the common indicators of stress? I've got 4 here, which is unlike me because I usually like to have 5. I like that aesthetic of an odd number. So emotional changes. You might find yourself feeling anxious more of the time, less confidence, feeling unsure, feeling sad, feeling unhappy, or perhaps even feeling really angry and really pent up and really vocal about things. I remember when I was stressed at work, one of my managers said to me, I can always tell when you're feeling stressed or feeling overwhelmed because vocally you get louder. Your conversation spends more time saying, I can't do this. I've got too much to do. I don't know. I'm really, really busy. And it is that moment when you struggle to understand and struggle to cope with things. So emotional changes in your emotional outlook, the way you feel, are a real indicator of stress in your life. Physical changes, you may find you're not sleeping. You may find your heart is racing or your breathing becomes shallow. You might find you have panic attacks. You might find you're either overeating or undereating. Those can be real indicators, or you might be turning to alcohol or drinking more caffeine because you just want to keep got to keep going, got to keep going. So physical changes, think about those. What are you noticing? Are you feeling, just really, I find I clench my fists when I'm feeling stressed. Notice those things. Behavioral changes. I've already mentioned one of mine. At work, I used to become more vocal, talking about how busy I was, how I couldn't cope. I would find myself feeling less tolerant towards other people. I wouldn't have the patience for my team. I'd be like, oh, for goodness sake, why can't you just get this? You get short-tempered with other people. Or things like I would find an excuse not to get up in the morning because I would feel tired or I wouldn't want to go to work. So I would start to think I was ill, find reasons for being ill, or I get really angry with people. These sorts of things you can spot. It's knowing those things and those indicators. And you might find cognitive challenges. So for me, I started to really struggle to make decisions, problem solving. I was leading a team, trying to make decisions for the team. I kept second guessing myself. I didn't really trust my own sense of knowledge and ability to do something. I struggled to work through problems, even remember what I was doing. I tend to write everything down because I find that's the easiest way to remember what I'm up to. But actually, that started to become more difficult. I would forget what I was doing, get partway through something, and not know what to do next. Just that, oh, I don't know. My husband asked me, what would you like for dinner? Oh, can't do that. Don't know what to do. Can't make a decision. Need someone else to validate. So those are four of the key indicators. But as you can see, they're big titles with a lot going on underneath. And just recognize when you might be experiencing these. Recognize with the physical changes, when your breathing starts to change, when your heart starts to race, when you might feel a bit sweaty, or you might start to feel palpitations and a little bit panicked. Those are real indicators that you're struggling with stress. And then it's for looking at, so what's the situation I'm in that's causing this? And what can I do about it? Because there's always something we can do about it. As we go through menopause, stress can come to the fore. It can come to the fore as a precursor for anxiety, because again, anxiety is like stress, worrying about something, but it can be caused, we can find ourselves feeling more stressed as we go through menopause. Firstly, hormonal fluctuations can cause us to feel more stressed and more anxious. If you know anything about your hormones, again, you will find that as the ovaries start to reduce down the estrogen and the progesterone levels, our cortisol may go up. So estrogen and progesterone are produced in the ovaries, but also through the adrenal glands, but in very small quantities. So the adrenal glands pump out cortisol. Cortisol we need to get us up in the morning, give us that get up and go, warn us when there's something wrong. We need it, adrenaline, to keep our heart pumping, keep ourselves breathing, all these sorts of really important things. But when it's not kept in check by estrogen or serotonin, other neurotransmitters, it can be that it runs too high in our system and we don't have any mechanism physically to reduce those levels of cortisol and adrenaline. So hormonal fluctuations can cause that. The physical symptoms of menopause can cause us to feel stressed. I know I wasn't sleeping. I struggled with insomnia. That really made me feel tired and physically fatigued. I didn't understand why I wasn't sleeping. I would get stressed because I'd lie in bed going, oh my God, I'm not sleeping. I have to get up in the morning. I have to go to work. I'm never going to do this. I got more and more stressed. Or I put on weight. And I know weight gain is a big thing for women as you go through the menopause. Putting on weight, and yet I was dieting, I was exercising, didn't understand why that was happening. Also, some of the physical symptoms of menopause that you get, itchy skin, dry hair, dry skin. My hair changed drastically as I went through perimenopause. And, our hair and looking nice is really important to us. It's about our identity. And suddenly when that changes, you just don't understand it. And again, menopause, if you don't learn about it, you don't understand it, it makes you feel more stressed. Life transitions. You might find that as you're going through this stage of life, perhaps your relationship is changing. Many divorces happen through menopause. It's not necessarily a cause of it, but there is a correlation. You might find you're at an important juncture in work. Perhaps the next promotion is scary, or you're not getting it and you're trying to get it. Or you've got older children that are flying the nest. They're becoming more independent. They don't need you as much. Or you might find that you have older parents that now you're going to be starting to look after. Suddenly you're the parent for them too. All these life transitions can become really difficult, and you may not recognize them, but they're there. They can cause stress. Societal expectations and norms. We live in a world that is very, very ageist. Menopause is seen as the change. It's seen as a time when women's usefulness, in inverted commas, ends. We're no longer reproductive. We're no longer young. Being reproductive means that we're young. We're growing older. We're moving into the next stage of our lives. And in a world that's full of Instagram photographs of everybody being airbrushed and looking slim and no grey hair and all this sort of stuff, and you see TV focusing on the young all the time, you can start to really get quite fearful of that transition, that aging process, and feeling older. That can be really, really difficult. You can start to feel that you've lost your worthfulness, if that's a word, your worthiness in the world. So society's expectations can weigh heavy and cause stress. And also, as we go through menopause, we might find that we have a decline in our coping mechanisms. I know when I went through this, I started drinking much more, drinking a glass of wine every evening or a gin and tonic. That's not good for us. We know that. So we start to use some of the mechanisms that aren't good for us. And as we're emotionally and cognitively challenged through menopause, we might not be able to cope with stress. We might find that what we used to do before to manage it, to cope with it, just isn't working anymore. So you can see menopause puts lots of extra pressures on us as on that cause stress and that actually makes stress worse. So when we're feeling excessive stress at menopause, how does it impact our health at this stage in our life? And I did find this picture quite amusing, the menopause weight around our leg pulling us down. And obviously, if you've listened to some of these workshops, you'll know that's not the case. That's not how we think. But if we are feeling excessive stress as we go through menopause, it will impact some of those menopausal symptoms. It will, in fact, worsen our symptoms. Anxiety will increase, sleeplessness will increase, our cognitive issues like our brain fog will increase. We will actually find then our hot flushes increase, because when we become anxious, the brain's working extra hard and you can find yourself having a hot flush that makes it worse. So stress in the mix makes a cumulative impact on our symptoms, and we will start to experience them worse. Mental health challenges. For me, it was anxiety and depression. That was caused through menopause, perimenopause, and workplace stress at the same time. Put those together, and I was off work for 4 months on antidepressants because I was struggling with anxiety. And again, you will find your mood swings can become more excessive, harder to manage. My anger was really, really off the scale, and I couldn't rein it in. Stress and cortisol are a complete nightmare for weight gain and metabolism. They will slow our metabolism down, because when we're stressed and we've got cortisol and adrenaline in our body will stop doing digestion. It will stop doing all those good things. It goes into survival instinct and puts all of the blood and all of the functions to running away, solving the problem. So if we've got a lot of cortisol in our body, we won't digest food. Cortisol also mucks up some of our eating habits. As I said before, you might find yourself either not eating because you're so full of adrenaline, you're just rush, 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 run through it all, or you overeat. And it really means that we can put on weight, which we can do as we go through the menopausal transition anyway. Put cortisol and stress into the mix and it makes it worse. That then obviously impacts our heart health. Too much stress will have an impact on cardiovascular. Our cardiovascular systems are challenged as we go through menopause and beyond due to the loss of estrogen, which is really important in keeping our heart functioning healthily. You put stress in the mix, it is pumping harder, it's racing, it's really working twice as hard as it needs to. Our blood pressure will go up. All these things that then can cause strokes, heart attack, heart disease, you name it. Stress will have something to do with it. So it's really important knowing that our our cardiovascular systems are already challenged through menopause. They will be doubly challenged if our stress levels are high. And then bone health. Again, our bone health is challenged through the loss of estrogen. In fact, our bone health, bone density starts to reduce from our early 30s. Loss of estrogen speeds up that process. But actually, again, if we've got too much cortisol in our body, it doesn't enable the bones in our body to actually work properly, to repair themselves, to actually become more dense. Cortisol will have an impact on that too. So you can see, as you go through menopause, stress and menopause together create real problems. And stress will make your menopausal symptoms and outcomes much, much worse. So what are the good stress busters? I like this. Next exit, stress relief. There's a lot we can do. And unlike my normal 5, I've got several here. Many of these you will have heard about as we've gone through this month of activities and knowledge. So I won't go into too much detail. Mindfulness and relaxation, we know, calm the mind, calm the breathing, everything slows down. Just taking some deep breaths, meditation, yoga, mindfulness will really help. Even doing things like colouring. I have a colouring book. So when I get really stressed, sit down and I do the colouring. It's a really mindful activity that you can lose yourself in. Really, really good at slowing the stress there. Physical activity. You've heard Emma this month, talk about getting outdoors, exercising, movement through menopause. It's really good for us, for our bone health, our heart health. Physical activity releases endorphins. Those are really happy, positive hormones that will have a soothing effect on the cortisol. Get good sleep. It's really difficult when you're stressed, but sleep is important. Sleep helps our brain to slow down, to actually work through everything that's happened during the day and relax us. And also, if we've had a good night's sleep, we're not waking up stressed and fatigued. So find yourself a sleep routine. Practice mindfulness before you go to sleep. Remove the stressors before you go to bed so that you can get a good night's sleep. Diet and nutrition always comes down to that. You'll see with the menopause lifesavers, you can't get away from it. Actually, things that we put in our body, like caffeine, like too many cups of tea, too much coffee, high sugar, alcohol, those things that we feel will calm us actually make stress worse. So eating a nutritious, healthy, balanced diet will have a massive impact on your ability to manage cortisol levels and to manage stress. You're putting your body in and your mind in a healthy place. And it's really important when we're stressed to make sure that we are eating healthy, not going to those high sugar, high caffeine, high alcohol snacks, and that we're eating regularly throughout the day so that we don't find that we're just running on adrenaline. Having a great social network. You're part of the Menopause Mosaic, or you might be part of the Phoenix Wellness life coaching and menopause group, or other groups. You'll be part of a friends group, an exercise group, family. Having the right social support around us can really help. Being able to talk. I know when I was struggling really badly with stress and anxiety, one of my dear friends who was, she's a teacher at the time, but during the school holidays when I was off, she would come round and at the weekends and we would go out for a walk, and she gave me the opportunity to talk, either talk about what was causing me issues or talk about anything. Just being with other people, that connection, which you'll see again in the lifesavers, is really important at helping us to get perspective on what is stressing us in our lives. Of course, HRT is great at menopause, and getting that estrogen back in the system can really help, especially if menopause and your symptoms is the cause of your stress. By taking something like HRT, it can reduce that stress because you know what it is, you're doing something about it. Again, herbal remedies, supplements, things like ashwagandha and saffron are super good at calming the mind. They're really good for mood swings. Magnesium supplements are really good for sleep. Omegas 3, 6, and 9, really, really good for bone health, for heart health, for your tissues, for brain health. So think about all those things. What can you do that might help? Cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm sure some of you would have been on Lisa's call earlier this week, talking about how mindset changes, how we think about menopause, how that can change our experience. The same with stress. Again, in the Lifesavers, we talked about mindset. The mindset that you come into this, if you are constantly going, oh my God, this is so stressful, this is so stressful, you're not going to solve the problem. If you go, okay, this is difficult. What can I do to make it better? I can do this. I've done this before. I don't need to worry. That's about your mindset. It can make a massive difference to how you dispel and reduce the stress as you go through menopause. And the big one, which again you'll see in my Lifesavers, doing more of what makes you happy. When we laugh, when we smile, when we enjoy things, and when we're happy, our body releases happy hormones like oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin, but also it's lots of positive emotions. You'll feel joy, happy, energized. It gives you energy. It just helps to take the edge off of stress. So when I feel stressed, I now put the lead on the dog and I go out and I walk in the woods. I love being in the woods, especially at this time of year with all of the colors, kicking up the leaves, being a child again. It makes me happy. Or I listen to a podcast or music or read a book or just watch something funny. Find what it is you enjoy doing and do it more of the time. It will 100% help to bust that stress. And then, quick recap, menopause lifesavers, positive approach and simple changes. I did a session on this earlier in the week, and it links in with everything we've been talking about this month. 6 things that if you can make sure you've got these in your life, they will make a significant impact on reducing your stress. 100%. Move your body, physical exercise. We've talked about that. Getting out there, doing things, feeling the sun on your body, feeling that extra push, using that adrenaline to run a marathon, whatever it is. Physical exercise is so good for reducing stress. Fuel your body, diet and nutrition, eating good things, a balanced, healthy diet, making sure you are eating sensibly, not overeating, not over reliance on all of those stimulants that will actually make things worse. Putting your body in the best possible place to succeed. Embracing your passions, doing more of what makes you laugh more of the time. Making sure you are doing things that light you up, make your heart sing, make you smile, make you happy. Because actually, if you spend all your time doing stuff you don't enjoy, what's the point? Happy hormones, remember that. Building connection, that's your social group, your social network. Reignite those friendships, get out talking with people. I recently did a yoga retreat, and all these, like many of the ladies I'd only ever met on Zoom calls. Meeting them face to face was amazing. We did physical exercise, we pushed our bodies, we did meditation, we did mindfulness, we ate well, we had a real giggle, and so much. They're now really good friends. So find those connections. And if you've got connections that are bringing you down and are making you more stressed, look at how you can move them out of your life. You don't need them. Find your purpose. Sometimes when we're stressed and when we go through menopause, we don't really know what we're here to do anymore. I know I spent lots of time thinking, this job isn't doing it for me. I don't know what it is I'm doing. I eventually left and I do this now. It's my purpose. It's my passion and it makes me smile. Find what it is that gives you that sense of worth. Because sometimes when you're in that stress zone, you don't believe in your own capabilities. Finding your purpose, however big or small, will 100% give you back that sense of self. And as we've said, laugh, laugh, laugh. Laughter creates compassion, self-compassion. It releases happy hormones. It's infectious. People laugh around you. You can't be anxious and worried when you're laughing. It's just so, so good for our minds and our bodies. So as you see, all of these things we've talked about this month come back to these 6 things. And if you do these, you'll be able to manage stress about menopause, and manage your menopause journey. So in summary, on what have we learned? So we know that menopause brings physical and emotional challenges. We know that, we're living them. Also, stress is very common. Pretty much everyone will feel stress at some point in their lives, and maybe recurring times. But the important thing is it's manageable. You can do something about it. If you understand the relationship between stress and menopause, and you adopt effective stress management strategies, that long list, or the 5 lifesavers that we talked about, you can improve your menopause journey. You can improve the way you experience your symptoms. It is all totally in your gift. And it's really important that as we go through this stage in life, or any other stage when we're talking about stress, that we take a holistic approach that includes lifestyle adjustments. So thinking about eating, sleeping, exercise, social support, building those connections, and professional guidance. So talking to a menopause specialist nurse, talking to a counsellor for stress and anxiety, talking to a cognitive behavioural therapist, or hypnotherapist, or your GP for HRT. You need all of those. Having those 3, it's like the Venn diagram, those 3 in place. In the middle will be you, and you will be benefiting from all that support. So whether we are experiencing stress outside of the menopausal transition or within it, always remember that mantra at the bottom. Stay mindful, stay active, and above all, be kind to yourself. So be aware of what's happening. Be aware of what you're feeling and the impact it's having on you. Stay active. It's so good for mind and body and will help. Whether that is a short walk, yoga, swimming, cycling, going to the gym, whatever it is, stay active. I guarantee it will be good for you in the future. And be kind to yourself. Often when we're feeling stress, the devil in us and that nasty voice keeps on telling us that we're not good enough. We're not doing this. We're not good enough. We should know better. What were we thinking? Actually, give yourself a break. Be compassionate. Look at what you do well and how well you do it, and focus on that so that you can put that nasty little devil on your shoulder to sleep. So that really brings us to the end of our in the kitchen, and the dogs just started to bark. It's really frustrating. Louis, shush. We're keeping it real. It's always a stress of doing these things, but keep talking as we're nearly there. So I will end the recording here, and we will go to your questions and answers. We've got some links here for you if you're looking for support. Obviously, myself, Jeanette, of Phoenix Wellness, the Phoenix Women's Wellness and Menopause Facebook group, Menopause Mosaic, if you're not already in it, and our Menopause Cafe Medway Towns, which is great for building that social connection. So I hope that you all enjoyed that, and let me end the recording here so that we can go to your questions. Thank you for listening.